Londres.
Professor Sir Roger Scruton was the greatest conservative of our age. Now, I admit, I'm biased. He got to me at an impressionable age. When I was 16, he came and spoke at the Philosophy Society at my school. His speech was completely apolitical. Actually, most of his speeches were, though you wouldn't guess that from his obituaries. As I recall, he spoke mainly about Wittgenstein and the use of language. And of course, he was so brilliant that at the end, our heads were swimming, and nobody wanted to ask the first question. So more to break an awkward silence than for any other reason, I thrust my fist in the air and I asked him, "What do you see as the role of a conservative thinker in contemporary society?" And his answer was the most brilliant summary of Burkean conservatism. He blinked behind his great glasses, and then in that charmingly hesitant, shy way he had, he said, "The role of a conservative thinker is to reassure the people that their prejudices are true." Now, of course, these days the word prejudice has come to mean something like being nasty to minorities, but he was using the word in its exact sense. You prejudge a new situation on the basis of past experience. He understood that life would be unlivable if you treated every new challenge from first principles, disregarding the wisdom of our ancestors, disregarding your own handy rules of thumb worked out in previous similar situations. And that love of the tried and the familiar and the organic and the evolved made him the best and truest kind of conservative. He had a great distrust of the sort of rationalist planned schemes to which intellectuals are peculiarly drawn, perhaps in the belief that they will get to run everything. He was therefore a great believer, right from the start, in the nation state. I spent part of my gap year meeting contacts of his in what we then still called Eastern Europe, the countries that were then just transitioning in the first half of 1990 away from communism. He'd given me various packages to carry to his friends, and so I watched those revolutions, if you like, through Scrutonian eyes. And I saw that despite the propaganda that nowadays tells us that it was some kind of return to Europe, it was some kind of yearning for what became the EU, at the time, to the crowds who were actually demonstrating against the tyranny, it was primarily about the end of foreign occupation and the restoration of national sovereignty. Roger was, of course, one of the Eurosceptic long marchers, one of the believers in the nation state, even in the years before Margaret Thatcher's Bruges speech. He always used to speak about the politics of the first person plural. He understood that to make a functioning democracy work, we need a unit with which we identify when we use the word we. His sheer versatility, the breadth and completeness of his interests, was unrivaled. He wrote the most wonderful books, not only about philosophy, politics, theology, but also about wine, about architecture, about church music, about fox hunting. He's leaving a corpus of some 50 books, almost all of them both intelligent and beautifully written. My first thought when I heard that he died was, but this is too soon. There are too many things that I still need to ask you. And then my second thought was, you've left this entire library for me to reread. And the one thing I would suggest to anyone watching these videos, pick up one of those books almost at random. Maybe start with his fox hunting memoirs or with England and Elegy. Tell me if you're not gripped within the first couple of pages. And then rest secure in the thought that there's plenty more to keep you going for the rest of your life.